Welcome. This is a series of videos to inform the public regarding the truth of history entitled Lies About the Formation of the United States of America. This is lesson number 8, The Con, September 20, 1787, written by the Union States Assembly historian, and the videos presented by Union States Assembly. This information can also be found on the Union States Assembly website at www.unionstatesassembly.org. We'll be doing a brief introduction of some of the basic facts you have not been taught about the formation of the United States of America by the public and private fool systems, which is where Americans get brainwashed and are told lies. In this lesson, we'll be looking at several documents, which are the journals of the Continental Congress. These documents can be found on our website as well as the Library of Congress. It is important to produce these documents in order to prove the truth of what Union States Assembly is presenting. Without such, this could be just another one of those internet speculation videos which many people believe as being true but provide no proof of such claims. Let's get started. On September 20, 1787, Congress receives the work of the Conventioneers tasked with revising the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union as per the Congressional Resolution of February 21, 1787. Congress was very busy at this time. It did not get to officially review the documents in session until September 27. What Congress did receive from the convention was the new Constitution, a letter from the Conventioneers, and a letter from George Washington, President of that convention. We need not look at the contents of the new Constitution, as it is irrelevant in our discussion. Therefore, let's look at the letters. First, the letter from the convention. See the Journals of the Continental Congress, volume 33, page 501. In convention, Monday, September 17, 1787. Present, the states of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Mr. Hamilton from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Resolved that the preceding Constitution be laid before the United States and Congress assembled, that it should afterwards be submitted to a convention of delegates chosen in each state by the people thereof, under the recommendation of his legislature, for their assent and ratification, and that each convention assenting to and ratifying the same should give notice thereof to the United States and Congress assembled. Resolved that it is the opinion of this convention that as soon as the convention of 9 states shall have ratified this Constitution, the United States and Congress assembled should fix a day on which the electors should be appointed by the states which shall have ratified the same, and a day on which the electors should assemble to vote for the President, and the time and place for commencing the proceedings under this Constitution. After such publication, the electors should be appointed, and the senators and representatives elected, that the electors should meet on the day fixed for the election of the President, and should transmit their votes certified, signed, sealed, and directed, as the Constitution requires, to the Secretary of the United States and Congress assembled, that the senators and representatives should convene at a time and place assigned, that the senators should appoint a President of the Senate for the sole purpose of receiving, opening, and counting the votes for President, and that after he shall be chosen, the Congress, together with the President, should, without delay, proceed to execute this Constitution. By the unanimous order of the Convention. G. Washington, President. W. Jackson, Secretary. Let us look at the first paragraph. The phrase laid before Congress is used. This phrase means put before Congress to look at only, not to debate it or to vote on it. Read it and then pass it on to the states or nations without debating it or voting on it first is what the Conventioneers petition. Right there, that is in violation of the 13th Article of Confederation, thus proposing to violate federal law. This is sedition bordering on treason by the Conventioneers. Let us look at the resolution portion of the letter. The Conventioneers propose that only 9 of the 13 are required to ratify and pass the new Constitution. Again, this violates Article 13 of the Confederation. Sedition and treason are afoot by the people from this convention. Let us now look at the personal appeal made by George Washington, the president of that convention. See the Journals of the Continental Congress, Volume 33, page 502. In Convention, Monday, September 17, 1787. Sir, we have now the honor to submit to the consideration of the United States and Congress assembled that Constitution which has appeared to us the most advisable. The friends of our country have long seen and desired that the power of making war, peace, and treaties, that of levying money and regulating commerce, and the correspondent executive and judicial authorities should be fully and effectually vested in the general government of the Union. But the impropriety of delegating such extensive trust to one body of men is evident. Hence results the necessity of a different organization. It is obviously impracticable in the federal government of these states to secure all rights of independent sovereignty to each, and yet provide for the interest and safety of all. Individuals entering into society must give up a share of liberty to preserve the rest. The magnitude of the sacrifice must depend as well on the situation and circumstance as on the object to be attained. It is at all times difficult to draw with precision the line between those rights which must be surrendered and those which may be reserved. And on the present occasion this difficulty was increased by a difference among the several states as to their situation, extent, habits, and particular interest. In all our deliberations on this subject, we kept steadily in our view that which appears to us the greatest interest of every true American, the consolidation of our Union, in which is involved our prosperity, felicity, safety, perhaps our national existence. This important consideration, seriously and deeply impressed on our minds, led each state in the convention to be less rigid on points of inferior magnitude than might have been otherwise expected. And thus the Constitution which we now present is the result of a spirit of amity and of that mutual deference and concession which the peculiarity of our political situation rendered indispensable. That it will meet the full and entire approbation of every state is not perhaps to be expected, but each will doubtless consider that had her interests been alone consulted, the consequences might have been particularly disagreeable or injurious to others. That it is as liable as to few exceptions as could reasonably have been expected, we hope and believe. That it may promote the lasting welfare of that country so dear to us all, and to secure freedom and happiness, is our most ardent wish. With great respect, we have the honor to be, Sir, Your Excellency's most obedient and humble servant, George Washington, President, by unanimous order of the Convention. In the second paragraph, Washington writes, the impropriety of delegating such extensive trust to one body of men is evident. Hence results the necessity of a different organization. A different organization? The conventioners were not tasked with creating a new organization. This is a violation of the federal law that created the convention and displays the arrogance of the conventioners in ignoring the task assigned it by Congress. In the third paragraph, Washington writes, it is obviously impracticable in the federal government of these states to secure all rights of independent sovereignty to each and yet provide for the interest and safety of all. Individuals entering into society must give up a share of liberty to preserve the rest. What is this stuff about individuals giving up a share of liberty or sovereignty? Where did that come from? Let us break into a quick history lesson here. The states or nations were formed by the sovereign people of those states or nations. Those people delegated some of their sovereignty to create sovereign nations or states. It was the sovereign nations or states that created the Confederation. The Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union is the law form of the Confederation and applies to the nations or states, not the people thereof. The people already had their law forms with each of the respective states. Now back to the dissection of what Washington wrote in once. He is stating that under this proposed law form, that the people, and indirectly the nations or states, must give up a share of their sovereignty. This is not the current situation under the current federal constitution, the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. He is proposing creating a new government which will, in some ways, rule over the people, which at current is not the situation. He also states that the nations or states currently cannot protect their people. This follows that old political doctrine, never let a crisis go to waste, as it is in reference to Massachusetts Bay and how they dealt with Shays' rebellion. Again, he is proposing making this new government even stronger than the current and taking away the rights of the nations or states. Let's examine the last paragraph, to which even Washington does not seem to know the truth, which I find hard to believe, and here is where the myth and dogma gets propagated beyond sentiment. That it will meet the full and entire approbation of every state is not perhaps to be expected, but each will doubtless consider that had her interests been alone consulted, the consequences might have been particularly disagreeable or injurious to others. That it is as liable to as few exceptions as could reasonably have been expected, we hope and believe. That it may promote the lasting welfare of that country so dear to us all, and secure her freedom and happiness, is our most ardent wish. That the new Constitution would not find favor with every state or nation is correct. Rhode Island and Providence plantations would sent no delegates to that convention because, as Patrick Henry had said, they smelled a rat, rejected the Constitution almost immediately once they received the copy. That it is as liable to as few exceptions as could reasonably have been expected is an understatement considering how that document has been perverted over time. Lysander Spooner said it best regarding the new Constitution. But whether the Constitution really be one thing or another, this much is certain, that it has either authorized such a government as we have had, or it has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist. Now, how fitting is that statement when looking at how the corporate government has enslaved all of us over time through the use of that new Constitution? In the last portion of the last paragraph, Washington refers to that country so dear to all of us. Is he referring to Virginia, his country? Is he referring to something that does not exist in actuality, but may be sentiment, meaning all 13 nations or states formed as one nation? Since he is not here to ask, one can only speculate. Far too many times Washington has received letters for Congress that states, in quotes, "These United States," end quotes, lowercase u, uppercase s, or, in quotes, "These United States," end quotes, uppercase u, uppercase s, etc., etc. No matter how you slice it, the word "these" is plural. For him to not know there was not a singular nation or country that was formed, I find unbelievable. No, I think Washington had ulterior motives involved. Remember, he was a high-ranking Freemason. Benjamin Franklin, the highest-ranking Freemason in North America, was also present at that convention. Who knows what the two of them and other Freemasons might have conversed about according to the Masonic teachings or future plans while creating that monstrosity of a document in proposed law form.